While many newer anime draw their women with obnoxiously huge eyes and lolly designs, old school anime hit the perfect balance between realistic and unrealistic beauty for their feminine creations. Some would also argue that female characters from that era had more depth in comparison to many of the shonen and seinen works that are released in the modern day. With anime often being mature in nature, this comes with the addition and involvement of femme fatale characters across many stories. But being a femme fatale goes much beyond looking good. It's important to remember that the femme fatale is a desirable woman who also wields a great amount of psychological power. The character cannot just be provocative or sexual, she also has to be aware of her own sexual power. They have great agency over their seductive nature and use it to get their way. In fact, the term femme fatale quite literally refers to a woman who can be disastrous to the men she gets involved with. Today's video is going to be about 10 such characters who can be antagonistic, downright malevolent, or even neutral. As a result, being a femme fatale can be a bit complex, but we do our best to make it simple. SLAN, BERSERK. We're kicking off today's list with a twisted personification of the femme fatale archetype from Kento Miura's magnum opus, BERSERK. An immensely powerful and ruthless member of the God Hand, SLAN is extremely beautiful, thanks to her striking appearance, plump lips, appealing physique, and visceral hair. With BERSERK being extremely explicit and mature, SLAN's seductiveness goes beyond the traditional unravel the hair and unbutton the shirt trope. Not only is she immensely powerful, but the villainous beauty also uses seduction and manipulation to get her way, often leading her targets to their doom. This sadomasochistic character is the first God Hand who manifests post-Griffith's sacrifice of his former crew of the Band of the Hawk. While the main antagonist is reborn as Femto and violates Guts' lover Casca in front of his very eyes, SLAN refers to the heinous act and Guts' violent reaction to it as a thing of beauty. During another instance, SLAN gets her abdomen run through by the Dragon Slayer, but the act only arouses her. She finds great amusement and delight in causing pain and suffering to others by exploiting their desires and weaknesses. SLAN's strong and magnetic sex appeal is one of the key components of her character, which is magnified by her revealing clothing and tendency to engage in sexually provocative behavior. She also harbors great lust towards the tortured protagonist, Guts. SLAN's influence on humanity has also led to the formation of a pagan cult known as the Goddess of Flame. Members of the cult have held cannibalistic rituals and orgies to honor the seductive but malevolent woman. Overly ambitious, lustful, manipulative, and with a raging desire for immense power, SLAN possesses great influence over the Apostles, which makes her far more dangerous than the average femme fatale character from other stories. SAEKO NOGAMI, City Hunter. Straying from the malevolent character trope, we have City Hunter's SAEKO NOGAMI, a secondary character who is renowned for being an expert markswoman and a skilled detective. SAEKO NOGAMI simultaneously embodies the femme fatale trope while defying some of its traditional aspects. She is assertive, confident, and beautiful. Her attire is borderline provocative with her high heels and a button-down shirt. Her cunning and certainty in knowing exactly what she wants has led to her becoming known as the vixen of the police department. As a woman in a high-risk career field, SAEKO possesses refined skills in the martial arts and excels in the usage of firearms as well as various styles of hand-to-hand combat. This is amplified by her fearless personality, as she is unafraid of confronting dangerous criminals. She is also intelligent and resourceful. Possessing sharp analytical skills and the ability to strategize, SAEKO is a force to be reckoned with. And finally, her ruthlessness towards criminals and her goals acts as the cherry on top. Although such traits can be considered more traditionally masculine, combined with SAEKO's alluring appeal, it magnifies her status as a femme fatale instead of taking it away from her. However, SAEKO is unique in the sense that she does not possess the characteristics of being manipulative or having a tendency to control others sexually. In her case, her allure exists for herself. She is a woman who is confident in her beauty and her femininity. She does not shy away from boasting it, but she is also a lot more multifaceted than her appearance. She is a femme fatale not because she tries to be one, but because she just is. FAYE Valentine, Cowboy Bebop. FAYE Valentine is definitely not antagonistic, although she's far from being a role model for kids. One of the main members of the Cowboy Bebop bounty hunting crew, FAYE Valentine is no stranger to sporting a revealing outfit or using her looks to get ahead. We are introduced to her huge financial debts early in the story. Combined with a fascination for gambling and a tendency to indulge in vanity when she should be focusing on bounty hunting, it's safe to say that FAYE is irresponsible or even lazy. However, she does know how to seize an opportunity and often uses her external appearance to do so. During her introduction, seduction, she pretends to be a damsel in distress when she most certainly was not, and this incident immediately set her up as a cunning woman who likes to use her looks to get her way. Dressing in provocative clothing to distract men and then taking advantage of their desire is an act Faye is no stranger to partaking in. Faye's mysterious past, which remains hidden for a whopping majority of the story, adds to her appeal. If there's something more attractive than a beautiful and headstrong woman, it's a beautiful and headstrong woman who's also mysterious. Although Faye did not intentionally make herself mysterious due to having lost her memory, it did add more complexity to her character and piqued the viewer's interest. Faye also had a myriad of bad habits apart from being a pathological gambler. She had issues with excessive smoking, alcoholism, and a tendency to steal from others, as well as the Cowboy Bebop crew. However, this also depicts Faye's spontaneous behavior, need for excitement, and a penchant for living life on the edge, which further adds the fatale to her Femme. REINA Morimoto. Discipline, Record of a Crusade. With this show being a hentai video game as well as an anime series, it is once again not unusual for the story to have a femme fatale baddie. REINA Morimoto acts as the principal and chairwoman of St. Arcadia Academy in Discipline, Record of a Crusade. Not only is she quite literally in a position of power, but she amplifies this with her manipulative and seductive nature. REINA relishes using her sexuality and charm to manipulate other people. She is great at assessing the desires and weaknesses of others and uses her captivating presence to exploit them for her selfish gains. Her clothing is also tremendously provocative, with her deep neckline exposing her well-endowed chest. While Faye Valentine was not a bad person despite engaging in acts of manipulation, REINA Morimoto most definitely is. The character got Takuro Hayami's sexual ability tested for the latter's entrance exam. She has even ordered the assault of certain characters, which goes beyond the acts committed by your run-of-the-mill femme fatale character. She herself engages in explicit and sexual acts as well, but instead of taking the back seat in such scenes, REINA often has the reins, as her assertiveness and willingness to take charge is what makes her who she is. Jun Violence Jack. Referred to as a biker babe, Jun is armored by her beauty, strength, and battle scars. With an air of mystery around her to create curiosity and a need to exert her control over others, Jun truly brings in the fatality. The character is someone who is extremely skilled at using her manipulation and seduction skills to wrap both men and women around her fingers. On several occasions, she has led those who fell under her charm to their respective tragedies. Because Violence Jack as a show is quite extreme and graphic, several scenes including Jun are often disturbing, violent, and too intense. Due to Jun finding her strengths as a character on such dark occasions, she becomes the embodiment of the femme fatale archetype. Her being inherently complex, chaotic, and violent adds to that fact. However, Jun is a product of her circumstances. As someone living in a post-apocalyptic world, Jun has no choice but to get stronger and survive. Her manipulation skills do benefit her, but only because she absolutely needs such advantages in her harsh environment. She also possesses a desire for power and control, which leads to her partaking in more acts of manipulation while being ruthless. She preys on the emotional desires and vulnerabilities of her targets to get her way as she climbs the ladder of success in the world of Violence Jack and gets closer to attaining authoritative positions. Jun is the stereotype of her archetype, as her acts have often been the catalyst that led to chaos and tragedy. Characters who became her victims often fell to their deaths, all while the story hid her true motivations as well as her past. Queen BERYL, Sailor Moon. Naoko Takeuchi's masterpiece, Sailor Moon, is the best-known anime when it comes to shoujo and magical girls. With a female-centric cast, the show boasts a horde of versatile female characters, so the existence of an antagonistic femme fatale as the main villain doesn't come as a surprise. The story introduces us to the commander of the Four Shitano and the Dark Kingdom, Queen BERYL, who has been responsible for leading the invasion forces in their conquest of the Moon Kingdom. Overly ambitious, Queen BERYL harbors a great desire to take over the world, unleash her dark energy, and reawaken Queen Metalia. The Queen is a manipulative and powerful sorceress who has mastered the art of seduction. She's attractive, with dark flowing hair, a regal appearance, and revealing attire that has a great impact on her followers. She is also tremendously cunning and often resorts to deception, seduction, and persuasion to wrap others around her fingers. Combined with her charismatic personality, leadership skills, tendency to partake in destruction, and never-ending ambition, Queen BERYL ticks all the boxes necessary to fit the femme fatale archetype. If that isn't enough, Queen BERYL also happens to be extremely powerful, possessing great prowess in dark magic and being a dominant force over the other characters in the story. Fujiko Mine, Lupin III. A beautiful criminal, trickster, and burglar, Fujiko Mine claims to have been Lupin's former lover. According to her intel, their relationship came to an end because she called it off. The character is one of the earliest femme fatales, with her being beautiful, seductive, and smart. Her gravity-defying physical frame helps her fit in more with the trope. Fujiko's standings with regard to her being antagonistic or not often remain unclear. Sometimes she allies with Lupin gang, and other times she acts as their rival. The gang is also well aware of the fact that Fujiko might just double-cross them if she wants to. Meanwhile, Fujiko is aware of Lupin's continued love for her and revels in the attention, but she mostly uses him as well as other men to get her way, which in this case is the treasure that catches her eyes. Fujiko is great at shooting, extremely cunning, resourceful, and capable of using her seductive abilities to their fullest. Naturally, she knows how to exploit the desires and weaknesses of others. The character has great control over her sexuality and possesses sexual agency, which gives her a dominating edge in the story. Her past experiences of being friends with crime bosses and being part of a crime syndicate act as a bonus. Fujiko being indecisive with her allegiances makes her hard to trust. She is quick to switch sides, betray others, and throw them down the drain for her personal success. It is hard to say whether she is one of the good guys or the bad guys though. She seems to mostly only take care of herself. But, all in all, she is far from being a character who is limited to being a femme fatale, while also perfectly fitting the archetype. Boa Hancock, One Piece. If you ask a guy who is the best girl in One Piece, there's a high chance that he will mention Boa Hancock. With the type of alluring body that's only possible in animation, Boa is a gorgeous woman who fits the femme fatale archetype. She is well aware of how attractive she is and often uses her charisma to manipulate others. Like most of the other characters on this list, Boa uses the art of seduction laced with confidence to wrap others around her fingers. She also enjoys great power thanks to the Mero Mero no Mi devil fruit, which allows her to turn people into stone with a glance. Her beauty is lethal and lets her control the emotional states of men. All of these make her an unbeatable femme fatale character, but even the best of girls can find trouble in getting the affection of the one guy they like. For Boa, this guy happens to be the protagonist, Monkey D. Luffy, whom the beauty is absolutely smitten by. Unfortunately for her, he's immune to her charms while she continues to try and seduce him throughout the show. However, her pursuit and infatuation with Luffy are not presented in a manipulative light, but as a comedic element. But Boa is also far from being a two-trick pony who is either used as a sexual character or a humorous one. It is not just Boa's devil fruit abilities that make her so formidable. She is exceptional in physical combat, has mastered a form of offensive and defensive spiritual energy called the Haki, which helps her immobilize weaker-willed opponents, and is the empress of the all-female kingdom called Amazon Lily. Finally, she also enjoys being the captain of the Kuja Pirates, making her a dangerous and powerful figure, both politically and physically, in the world of One Piece. Dr. YOUKO Takagi, AD Police Files. And finally, we end the list with Dr. YOUKO Takagi from the Bubblegum Crisis franchise. Appearing in its spin-off series known as AD Police Files, Dr. Takagi is a medical examiner and a forensic scientist. She deals with rogue androids known as boomers in the anime, helps the AD police in criminal investigation, and analyzes any evidence that relates to the boomers. This makes it evident that Dr. Takagi is an extremely capable character and not the type to submit to her peers. She is also much more than her attractive appearance and enjoys the position of being a secondary antagonist in the third episode of the show. However, her seductive side is unusual and the type that puts her in a position of power. In the story, after Police Captain Billy Fanward gets mortally wounded, his brain and tongue are harvested by Dr. Takagi. She transplants the organs into the body of a battle cyborg and sexually forces herself on him. And she does this because she gets attached to her own genius creation. But she does sexually assault him, which makes her less of a femme fatale and more of a twisted, horrible person. On the bright side, she is later killed by the robotic hand of her own creation. Marvelous verdict. These 10 women have made their marks across their respective shows in their respective ways. Although the likes of Fujiko Mine and SAEKO Nogami might be more badass, we cannot say the same for Dr. Takagi and SLAN, who have committed heinous and evil acts. But this has also allowed them to show off how versatile the concept of a femme fatale can truly be, considering every character on the list is vastly different from the others. And yet, they are united by their ability to use their beauty in disastrous ways.